hit the white button.
Yeah.
Good? Okay. Alright, so first we need to talk about, and it's going to take a few minutes for you guys to actually start filling in the notes. So, what do plants need to photosynthesize, and how do they obtain these things? So let's think about it. What are some things that we need for photosynthesis?
We need sunlight.
We need sunlight. Nick?
Nutrients or soil?
Or
like ground.
So that helps the environment that it's in, but what are some factors that we have to have for photosynthesis?
Carbon.
Carbon
Dioxide.
dioxide. Chlorophyll's in the chloroplast, so yes, we need that to help absorb the sunlight. Water. Energy from the sun. Okay, so we kind of already have some good ideas about what we need. So we're going to talk about, and this is the first question on your notes there. It says, how do we obtain, I think, it says, how do plants obtain water is our first question. Okay, so how do we think plants obtain water?
Those are like the roots of like whatever plant. Don't they like suck up the water and then distribute it evenly?
Yeah, okay, so water comes in through the roots. Do you remember what that was called? Think back to the water lab we did. Anybody remember?
Hydrolysis.
No, starts with the C. Think back. Capillary.
Vision?
Action. Capillary action. And there's two processes that went along with that allow the water to travel up. What were those called?
Adhesion and cohesion.
Oh, yeah. Adhesion and cohesion. Okay? All right, so here's the equation. This is at the top. I would highlight this, star this, make sure you know the equation, okay? So, on your test and homework, you're going to need to be able to recite this for us and tell us what it is. And not just say it, but also have the formula. So, another good thing to kind of put on here, it's kind of a silly joke here, but it's called the evil equation because it has 3 sixes, 6, 6, 6. Okay, so it's really silly, but it does help you remember how many of the items that we need. So, you told me we need carbon dioxide. We need 6 carbon dioxide molecules in order for photosynthesis to happen. We need 6 water molecules in order for it to happen. Someone also said we need some sort of energy. What was that energy? From the what? Sun. So I think yours says this. If it doesn't, write sunlight on top of your arrow. We need sunlight energy for this to happen. Okay? And then we make, what do you think this is? C6H12O6. We've seen that before.
Isn't that sugar?
That's sugar. What specific sugar? Glucose. Okay? So we have glucose. We only have 1 glucose molecule. And then 6 oxygen. Okay? So that's the equation for photosynthesis.
Like, do plants need sunlight, like specifically from the sun, or could they need like a light bulb or something?
You can use like actually that's what we're going to use for our project. We're going to use we'll have like heating lamps and things like that, so that's good too.
Could a plant like live on a starch or no? Probably not.
What do you mean?
Like instead of the glucose, could it possibly ever be a starch that it like uses or no?
I would think, it's gonna, so it's not really like, basically it's gonna make its own sugar. So since it's making its own sugar, it doesn't necessarily make starch, if that makes sense. So it's like making the sugar, and that's what it uses its energy from. It takes the sunlight energy to make the sugar energy. Okay? So what I also would like you to add on your equation, this side is called the reactants, and this side is called the products. Okay? Reactants means starting material. So this is the very top of your notes that we're filling in here. Okay? Reactants are the starting materials. So we need carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight in order to do photosynthesis. Products are the things that we produce. We produce glucose and oxygen. Okay? And we'll go into more detail with this as we go throughout photosynthesis, but these are the key words that we're going to be looking at. Okay? Questions on that? All right, so back to our question, how do plants obtain water? Okay, we talked about this. Andrew told us that it comes up through the roots. If it's raining, it can also be taken through the veins, along with the roots, which you'll see on your What is a Leaf worksheet. Okay, question 2. How do plants obtain carbon dioxide? First off, where do they get carbon dioxide?
The air.
The air, and where does it come from the air?
Other plants? Us, our breath.
Yeah, animals, right? Okay. We release carbon dioxide, it's in the air, and then plants take in carbon dioxide. Now, it's kind of hard to see on this picture, but there's going to be a little hole on the underside of the leaf, and that's called the stomata. That's where gas exchange occurs. So that's where carbon dioxide is going to go in, and what's going to go out?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Okay. Now this is really cool. This is a cross section of a leaf, and Monday we're going to do a lab that actually looks at the different things, or will allow you to see the cross section of the leaf and look at the different types of cells. So we see here this first layer, and if you look, there's a picture down at the bottom, if you want to follow along with that. This first layer is called the cuticle. Then we have the upper epidermis. Okay, we have the palisade mesophyll cells. We have, this is called the spongy layer. Okay, these right here. And then mesophyll, we'll look at that. That's going to be like middle layer. So we have the palisade and the spongy. We have the lower epidermis. We have these two guard cells here, and then the stoma or the stomata. Remember, that's the hole that allows gases to enter and gases to leave. So and then it's followed by the cuticle underneath. On Monday, we're going to do a lab where we're actually draw a cross section of what this looks like. So this will help you, and your worksheet's going to be really helpful with this as well. Mm-hmm.
Is it a stomata or is it a stoma?
Okay, so one of them is plural. I think stoma is one and stomata is multiple. So they're both the same. Okay. And here's your picture that you're looking at here. Again, the guard cells kind of control whether or not the stoma is revealed or not. So if the guard cells are open, then it allows the stomata or the stoma to open, and that allows us to do gas exchange. So if it's open and we're exchanging gases, what process are we doing? What is this whole thing about?
Diffusion?
Photosynthesis.
Oh, yeah,
it does go in through diffusion, but all right. Okay, so here's where your notes start. We're talking about each of the different layers. So remember, the top layer we talked about is the cuticle. That's a waxy outer layer on the leaf to prevent water loss. Okay. So it's waxy. What kind of organic compound would that be if it's waxy?
A lipid?
A lipid. Okay. So it's a lipid, and it's going to help prevent water loss. That's its main job. All right. Then we have the upper epidermis, which is the top layer of cells on the leaf, and that's going to offer us some protection. Okay. Remember to get those? Okay. Anybody remember what was next? The middle layers. What was the top?
The Swivl?
I heard like 4 different things. What was? There we go. Okay. All right. So mesophyll means the middle layer. Notice we have 2. Okay. Palisade layer, that's going to be the majority of photosynthesis. What do we say is the organelle where photosynthesis occurs? Chloroplast. So do you think the palisade layer has a lot of chloroplasts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to that picture. I'll come back to this. Okay? These are chloroplasts. I'd say that has a lot, right?
Yeah.
Does the spongy have some?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it has a little bit. So there's some photosynthesis that occurs there as well. And the guard cells have them too. Okay, go back. So, photosynthesis is mostly going to occur in the palisade layer. We do see it in the spongy layer, but that's mainly going to be where gas exchange occurs, the majority of the gas exchange. We're in second. Yep. Okay. All right, everyone good there? Okay, then we are followed up by the lower epidermis. This is the lower layer of the cells of the leaf. We talked about the stomata. Those are going to be those holes in the lower epidermis that open for gases to enter and exit. And then it's going to be followed by those two guard cells that we saw in the picture. These are cells that open and close to reveal the stomata. So again, they kind of control whether or not the stomata opens, and that's what allows gases to exchange. So when they open, it reveals the stomata. Now we're going to do a lab on Monday with stomata and the stoma, and when we do that, a lot of pictures are just going to show one because we're just looking at one cross section, but you're going to see multiple of these when we actually look at a leaf. There's not just one stomata, there's multiple. All right, and there's our equation again. Evil equation. Okay, lastly, how do plants obtain light? So here's the light spectrum. This is what we can see with our vision, this color spectrum. So when light hits an object, it is either reflected or absorbed. Okay? Now we can probably answer this. I bet a lot of us already know this. When it's being reflected, that is the color that we see. So everything being absorbed is not what we see. What is being reflected is what we see. So with the plant, someone raise their hand and tell me, what color do you think is being reflected?
Green.
Green, okay, and why? Because that's what color a plant is, right? What other color do you think might we see?
Like reds or like.
So not on a plant.
Oh, like a rose. That's kind of
So like just we're talking about the leaves.
Oh, the leaves. Yellow.
Yeah, yellow. Okay, so in a plant with the leaves, the colors that are being reflected the most are green and yellow. So they're not being absorbed. So if green and yellow is out of the picture, what colors are being absorbed?
Like purples and pinks and blues.
Purples, blues, reds. Okay, so that's what this chart is. Notice green and yellow is really low because it's being reflected, not absorbed. And then the blues, violets, reds, those are being absorbed by the chlorophyll. Okay, and we didn't really talk about this a lot, but remember the chloroplast is where photosynthesis happens. They have pigment called chlorophyll within the chloroplast, and that's what absorbs the light from the sun. Okay, and once it absorbs this light, it gives us energy to allow us to do photosynthesis. So that word's called chlorophyll. That's the pigment that absorbs these different colors of light. Okay? Any questions on that?